At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Cleveland! Welcome into the show, At the Office, the show where we talk all things Cleveland sports. I'm your host, Noah, joined by my co-hosts, John and Erik. You can join us too at the office. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you may be watching. Text the show. You can see the number below. You can call us as well. I'll listen in and get you on into the show. It is 216-260-3433. 216-260-3433. Follow us. Check us out. Boys, how we doing?
I'm doing well. I'm a little under the weather. We got the Sharp family got the bug that everybody has going around, so I'm congested and had a rough go, but it's a big week in sports. Cleveland and Ashley. State picked up Matt Patricia. DeAndre Hunter had a solid first game. Dolans are taking cheap acidness and fuckery to a whole new level. Myles and Njoku making waves. I don't know. We could probably do 3 hours tonight if you ask. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to talk. I wish I wasn't sick. This is the best I felt in a while about the sports scene.
That's totally fair, man. Erik, how are you?
I'm good. I really want John to put his money where his mouth is and hang in for a 3-hour show, especially knowing he's sick and might have contaminated us at lunch yesterday. But no, I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm okay, man. I'm a little frazzled. Lost my earbuds. Don't know where they're at. So a little frazzled, but we're here and I'm ready to talk some sports and, go through what we do. But we have plenty to talk about today and we can get into that in a second. But I'd rather pass it over to my good friend John. Why don't you get us started, man?
Yeah, man, we had a big weekend. Myles and Njoku and Joe Thomas making waves at the Super Bowl. Kendrick happened. All kinds of stuff going on. Congrats to the Eagles. Boy, did they fly. I'm no Eagles fan, but they whooped up on the Chiefs pretty good. They were up like 40 at one point, and it was a blowout. So I was looking at some stuff online. Said most Americans agree that either the second most important thing of the Super Bowl behind the football or the number one most important thing about the Super Bowl is the commercials. I was going to ask what you guys think. You got your heavy hitters, you got your first timers, you got the insurance wars, you got the comedic approach, you got the tearjerker approach. So to get us started, Noah, why don't you give yourself 30 seconds and tell us what was your favorite Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah, let's get into it, man. My favorite Super Bowl commercial is from the greatest candy brand that has ever candy branded in its entire candy brand itself. Reese's commercial with the old lady trying to drive her car into the lava and don't taste the lava, taste our lava chocolate Reese's, whatever it was called. That had me laughing. I was at a Super Bowl party with Erik. I think the whole room laughed at that one, actually. So I love the humor when it comes to my Super Bowl commercials, and that one was my favorite, man. It just was, simply.
All right, no, I like that one. I had my finger on the mute button, remembering that I have the power to mute you as well. Because if you said the best candy known to man was something other than Reese's, I was going to shut the whole thing down. But you came
That's
through.
Valid. Oh, that's totally valid.
I love it. How about you, E? What do you think?
Listen, I had two. First, I was going to say, do I have a timer? First, the booking.com with the Muppets. I just thought that not only did it show the value of the service that they offer, but it utilized the celebrity cameo in kind of a fun way. So I thought that was cool. But then the Google Dream job one, where it's showing Google Pixel helping a dad prepare for an interview. He's a new dad, and that's why he's taking time off kind of thing. Google's done that emotional connection for a while now. I loved it. Also, shout out Seal being a seal. I thought that was funny.
I thought that one was personally a little bit weird. I was uncomfortable. I was eating the mini corn dogs, I guess, pigs in a blanket, whatever the hell you want to call them,
Pigs
and
in a
was
blanket.
uncomfortable the entire time.
Shout out to the Travises for the best spread, I think, for any Super Bowl I've ever been to.
So not to be a stickler, question on that, though. In my mind, and I could be wrong, pigs in a blanket is when you have pork, like sausage, wrapped in like a pancake. The actual mini corn dog is just a mini corn dog. If it's a corn dog and smaller,
whoa, it wasn't a mini corn dog, and this is a dispute, but pigs in a blanket for my generation is a hot dog wrapped in that.
It's like a biscuit, basically.
Yeah, wrapped in that whatever with like some cheese.
That's what it was. To be fair,
Yes.
I did mini corn dog at first and corrected myself as I often do when I go on.
My wife makes them every year for Halloween. You take the crescent roll with some American cheese.
Yeah,
and put
crescent
it
roll.
Yes, we call them
Bingo.
Halloweenies in my house because we've had them on Halloween for 20 years. So I'm glad we talked about it.
I might have been able to try those, but John and his family are notorious for saying, "Hey, we'll bring you food like cookies," and then never following through.
Yeah, it's been 2 months, Eric?
We've been waiting on these
cookies, and I'm still curious as to where the hell they're at. And I'm coming
for
at
sure.
you.
He has
Mary.
27 daughters that are constantly baking for him, and yet we can't get any of the love over here. So
2 years of friendship for what, man? For what?
Mary said to tell you guys hi, first of all. Second of all, I cannot let you guys besmirch her name. All of this is my fault. She does what she's supposed to do. I'm the issue. I would tell you if it was otherwise, but that's true.
Fair.
We'll make some. I'll have to get you guys something soon. We came close this last year.
You gonna do your 30-second take, or you want to just yip it up with the boys all night?
Well, we're gonna kind of do both. Isn't that the point of the show, Noah? You can put the 30-second time.
Okay. I digress.
So this is a lame excuse, but ever since the first Super Bowl, me and Mary were married, we always have people at our house. First year was just her mom and dad when we got married. This year was just a couple people from around the neighborhood. Some years it's been like a 50-person party. But the long story short is I do a game where I write every player, kicker, offense, defense on a poker chip, put it in a Browns hat, and you throw $1 in, you take a player. If they score next, you get the whole pot. Between that and entertaining and getting beer, I see like 5 Super Bowl commercials a year. That said, one of the 5 that I saw this year, I saw Seal beached on a rock and looked up and said, hey, he looks better there than he does in real life. So that was my best commercial.
Okay.
Seal, who married a supermodel, by the way.
Eric, I want to shout you out for getting the timer there, because I didn't know if that was the start of his 30-second take or he was going on another side tangent there for a second.
And he would have been way over. I gotta give him some crap early because normally I'm so tuned into Super Bowl, etc. But like Noah said, we were at a Super Bowl party. We were mingling with all kinds of different people, and it was a blowout. So I didn't focus on the game as much as I normally would have, or the commercials for that matter. So today in show prep, I Googled top Super Bowl commercials this year, and I watched them all. I would have thought my man John would have watched them all too, instead of the lame excuse I didn't get a chance and didn't see any, so it's Seal. But
yeah,
that's okay.
Bad. I'm going to copy Eric, was what we just got in a 30-second take. And this man has the goal to own the best take chain. What the hell, man?
I know. Throw that away. Come on. Don't even show it. Don't put it on.
Put that on
come
after
on.
His poor display,
It's
brother.
ridiculous.
Since you brought it up, here it is.
I hope you choke on it.
In full defense of myself, I brought up all the videos last night. I was like, I'm going to prep for the show. Woke up this morning with a fever and a cough and couldn't even get to my laptop to work until 10:30. Feeling better now, but all my extra time went to that.
Hold up. Your story said I pulled them all up last night, and then I was too sick this morning. We skipped like all of night time. What happened after you pulled them up?
I went to sleep. I was like, you got to prep for tomorrow.
There it is.
Hit up a couple topics. I had my little notes up. I had a couple links for the ones. To USA Today, 20 best commercials. I was ready to go, and then I just didn't get to it. So, yes, lame excuse, but it's also the truth. What are you going to do? I didn't see the commercials, but I'm glad you two did.
And if I want to play devil's advocate for a second real quick, since we're throwing jabs at each other, someone didn't get to something else today too, Eric. So I don't think we could be too hard on John.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The story post.
I got to winning at basketball for 4 games in a row.
Okay, I suck at basketball. We've already been down this road.
Whoa. Are you talking about when I beat you guys in basketball 5 games in a row? Or are you talking about something separate?
Stay tuned, America, because there's more on that soon.
Yeah, more to come. We might have got the challenges, might not have. All right, guys, 11 minutes in. Let's pivot to the meat, right? We talked about the Super Bowl commercials. That's all fine and dandy. I didn't watch any of them, but I did watch every minute of this game. Wasn't the world's best game, but it was still a Super Bowl. I want to get your reaction. What it means for the Eagles, for the Chiefs, for Mahomes' legacy and Andy Reid. Is Travis Kelce going to retire? What does this mean for Saquon and Nick Sirianni? And then not just these two teams, right? This has widespread impact. Who's moving where? Who did what? Who saw what? We even talked a little bit about the fact that it could have some impact right here in our own backyard with our Cleveland Browns. I'm going to go ahead and say, Noah, why don't you get us started on the Super Bowl commercial? And then, Erik, I'll let you kick off the next one. I'm sorry, not the commercial. Super Bowl game.
No, you're good. No, you're good, man. I'm going to take the Cleveland route, as I often do, because to be honest, I think this is a great win for Philly. I think it cements the legacy of a lot of players on that team. I think it validates Jalen Hurts as a quarterback and a winning quarterback at the end of the day. But it was a blowout. It was a boring game. It was a one-sided game. The Chiefs looked horrible on offense, defense, special teams, and in between. So I don't have a lot of reactions here. Travis Kelce did go on New Heights and say he doesn't know what he's going to do yet in terms of his career. He's going to kick that can down the road a little bit. Totally valid. You just got out of it. Why do you want to think about it some more? It's his day job at the end of the day. But what this Super Bowl means for us and the Myles Garrett trade, I think, is pertinent and important because the Eagles showed the exact route and recipe on how to beat Patrick Mahomes. And that is having 4 damn good rushers rush Patrick Mahomes and get pressure on him without having to send all your linebackers and a corner blitz or whatever else scheme you have to put up. So I think this helped the Cleveland Browns in a whole drive up the price for Myles Garrett as the time comes.
I like it. I do. Since we're in the spirit of giving each other shit, I do have to say they showed us the exact blueprint. Just get 4 great defensive linemen who can all rush the passer. That's kind of like saying, yeah, all you have to do to be a pro NBA guy is be really good at basketball. Like the devil's in the details. But you're right. They did give us a blueprint. What do you think?
I can't even get over that last thought because the Chiefs' offensive line was worse than Swiss cheese. Like, I don't think that's a good blueprint. Listen, I mirror the thoughts a little bit, cry Chiefs cry. That's all I got to say today. And the funny thing is I was rooting for the Chiefs. This is how much and how little I cared for this particular Super Bowl. I went in rooting for the Chiefs. And the reason I was rooting for the Chiefs was twofold. Number one, I had a friend that has a player relationship with a player on the team. And number two, Eagles fans, they're a bit much for my taste. As the game was going on and the Eagles were demolishing them, I was kind of just rooting for, I wonder how high this score could get, like how bad this can be. I kind of liked history the one way, but let's see it the other way. Listen, I don't think it shows us anything. I think that it shows that the Chiefs need to retool at offensive line.
With
the
what
Eagles,
money,
well, that's the problem. Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to be able to, but it will be interesting to see, does this mean that their domination is over? I don't think so, but we've always known good defense wins Super Bowls. But I say with a kind of caveat there, because normally you would say a guy like Mahomes can overcome that. Well, they also hung 40-plus points on him. And shout out to Nick Sirianni pulling the Ryan Day, losing in his first championship Super Bowl and winning in the second. I'm here for it. It was fun.
I'm curious, though, real quick, John. I don't mean to cut you off, but you acted very strongly with the facials against my point of this helping the price of the Myles Garrett trade. So I'm curious what your reaction was there. Is it just because the Chiefs' offensive line was bad? Because I would argue the Chiefs arguably, that makes no sense, but you know what I'm saying.
Let's argue
that
it, yeah.
I would argue that arguably, yeah. No, that makes sense.
We're going to argue.
I am going to argue that the Chiefs are still the team to beat because they have gone so many times, especially if you're talking about an AFC team that might be willing to give up a lot of assets now to get another guy on their O-line. I don't know, or their D-line, excuse me. I don't know. The Bills, the Texans. I'm just throwing it out there.
Let's start. Were you asking me that question that I was making the faces?
Yes.
It's twofold. So first of all, I don't think you can say anybody's the team to beat when they just lost. I think you should say the team to beat in the AFC maybe because they've gone to 3 straight Super Bowls.
Tomato, my bad. Yes.
Yeah, semantics, right. The reason that I was making the faces was more to do with the line. But that said, no, I don't think it drives the price for anything. The price is the price on Garrett. We've talked about this before. He's worth whatever teams are willing to pay. Seeing the Chiefs O-line go down like that, is that going to automatically jack up his value? No, absolutely not. Because teams are going to offer what they feel is fair value, or probably under because of how it actually works, and see what they get. I don't think it drives the price up. They don't all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, this is a commodity we can't get anywhere else in our life, because that's not true either.
I disagree full-heartedly on that, but I know we have different opinions of Myles Garrett, the player, and what he means, because bar none, to me, he is the best defender in the NFL.
He is a great player and one of the best edge rushers in the game, period, if not the best edge rusher. But he is one man of several that play a defense, and one man that could potentially be available. So you're not going to overpay for him, in my opinion. I don't think we'll see that.
I want to jump in real quick because you guys covered a lot of ground and you brought up a lot of good points that I agree with on both sides. And then something I wanted to work into my own. First thing I want to say is we live in this era of social media, and I'm not one of these old heads who's like, we're moving too fast, getting away with the technology. But every now and then I get irritated that people have to jump right to what does this do for Patrick Mahomes and him being the greatest of all time? We'll know when his career is over. So shut the fuck up and hear me out on this. If he wins the next 4 Super Bowls after this, there won't be a question. And if he can't make it out of the first round of the playoffs, we'll know it's Tom Brady. We don't have to answer that on Scott Van Pelt 82 seconds after the Super Bowl ends. Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest to ever do it. So is Andy Reid. If everybody's back and healthy, you need some offensive line help. They won 15 games this year, so relax. Tom Brady lost Super Bowls. I don't care that Pat Mahomes got blown out. I just think it's a bogus narrative. Digging into some of the details, though, I do think this is big for the Eagles. Sirianni was like on a rookie contract for a coach. He's going to get broken off big time. The Eagles have a lot of talent they got to try to bring back if they're going to run the table again next year. I agree 100% with Noah that they gave us a blueprint of how to beat the Chiefs, but I agree 100% with Erik that if the Chiefs improve their offensive line, the blueprint probably doesn't work. I think I was happy for Eagles fans. I agree with Erik. They're obnoxious.
I think.
But they're also like, you look at the Phillies, the 76ers, the Eagles, and the Flyers. We don't have a hockey team, so leave the Flyers out. They got more than Cleveland, but they had a tough road to sled over the last 40 years or so themselves. The rest of it, man, we'll see. Winners come back and say, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to look like crap on national TV at the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, I can guarantee you, was embarrassed. So is Travis Kelce. So is the organization. Not because they made it to a Super Bowl and lost, but in the way they lost. We'll see what kind of medal they have and if they are one of the greatest teams of all times and if it was just a really good 3 or 4 year run or if they got more in the tank. But I'll tell you this, anybody who's going to lay a wager or anybody's going to come on the podcast and talk about it, if you start telling me why the Texans or Ravens are better than the Chiefs, I'm going to point to the last 4 years and go, I don't think so, brother. So we'll see. But there's a lot at stake. We'll just have to watch it play out over time.
You raise an interesting point, so I'm curious what your guys' take on this is. But did you feel like, so 4 were getting home so much. Do you think that we should have saw more screens, more backfield play? I mean, the play calling, I get it. You got down big pretty quick, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on the Chiefs' play calling.
Yeah, it's tough when you get in that situation so quickly because you have to start throwing the ball and relying on who is the best quarterback in the league right now and who is, a Hall of Fame tight end. And regardless of how up and down their receiving core can be, it is a good receiving core at the end of the day because of Patrick Mahomes. So I get it, and it sucks that you can't lie on a run game that has been strong with Kareem Hunt as the number one guy and Pacheco slowly getting back into what he was.
Yeah,
But
you
with
can't
that being
rely
said,
on the run game because they were down 80 points in the first quarter. But yeah, you're right.
right, exactly. Yeah. So yes, in theory, but it's too little too late when you go down 3 touchdowns like that.
Yeah, and by the way,
I do think there's an element of, sorry, E, I heard you jump in there. This is a quick one. I think there was an element of high on the hog with the Chiefs, if I'm being honest. Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches of all times. Pat Mahomes is one of the best quarterback of all times. Whether they're number one is something we'll debate in 10 years. But they got outfoxed, outcoached, outworked, outmanned at every turn, and that is not something you see. And I think Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes picked a really bad day to have their worst games of maybe their career. Because Mahomes was abysmal. So it was just a really bad game. It just had a really bad time.
For sure.
It's a good note. I was just going to add that it is so hard to repeat as Super Bowl champions. So you mentioned the Eagles and the work that they can do, and they deserve every bit of that success. But when you have the Lions on the other side, when you have the Bills that are still knocking on the door along with the Ravens, maybe we'll get a different Super Bowl next year. Maybe. We'll see.
You want to hear something funny? Put a ball on it before I let Noah take us to break. I don't know if you guys are like me and you're Cowboy haters, but depending on what the Giants do in free agency, Dak might be the worst quarterback in that division, and he's getting $1 trillion. Like,
yeah.
Well,
they're
Dak
going to be like,
could be a Cleveland Brown. Who knows? I mean,
I'm all the way good on that, but that's another conversation for another day. Listen, today's episode of At the Office is brought to you by D&D Meadery. Derek and Dominic, 2 brothers from Northeast Ohio, just like you and I. Fantastic honey wine. If you haven't tried it, go try it. It is totally worth it. And if you use code @the-officecle, you get 5% off on their website, which is dndmeadery.org. Or if you buy 2 bottles, you get, Eric, hold it up with me now, a shot glass as well with your 2 bottles. It is a great value. It is a non-expensive. It's pristine, but you're not breaking the bank on this thing, man. You are enjoying a nice, give me a second, 375 milliliters of goodness on your tongue.
It does everything well. If you like wine because you don't want carbonation, it's smooth, but it's also got a kick of sweet. It's also got a punch of alcohol, but it's not going to hit you like bourbon or something. I really enjoyed it. I still don't have mine because I drank it. I should bring my shot glass.
Ask John how he knows, because we've all tried it. We've all ordered bottles, but John was the only one to drink the first show bottle.
I digress. John, I'm going to let it kick back over to you so we can talk a little bit about the MLB and salary cap.
Yeah, man, there's some wild stuff going on. So I'm a former baseball player. Shout out Cleveland Heights. Shout out Baldwin Wallace. Pitchers and catchers reported this week. So even if you have a bunch of cheapskate asshole owners, the boys of summer reporting for their version of preseason is still a big deal for baseball fans. So keeping up with the theme, there's a lot going on in baseball right now, right? Coming out of winter meetings, we have spring training, Guardians, no pregame show for road games. Don't know if you saw that one. That was a mess. But the big news is that, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it. But I think the biggest news for baseball going into the year is that MLB is prepared to add a salary cap. I don't want to do what I've done in times past and overshare on this one before you guys have a chance to weigh in, but it's a big deal. Eric, tell us what you think.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I don't think it's a big deal at all. Hear me out. It's not going to happen. That's the long and short of it, but let me explain further. Manfred's already laying the groundwork to against this, essentially saying that there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to the issues. Players are going to strike again if this is voted into approval like they did in 94, 95. And a league that generated $12.1 billion this past season, I'm not sure that the owners have a stomach for a protracted battle like they'll have on their hands. But let's back up a little bit, though, because the thing that I find most interesting about the proposal here is that the owners that are calling for it, right? So what you would think and what you would expect would be Guardians ownership, Tampa Bay ownership, maybe even Milwaukee ownership. Hal Steinbrenner of the Yankees, he said to Yes Network, he said to Yes Network, it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kinds of things that they're doing now. He is, of course, referring to the Dodgers. There is one team in baseball that is throwing the wrench that has owners losing their minds. David Rubenstein, a private equity billionaire and the new owner of the Baltimore Orioles, he said during the World Economic Forum to Yahoo Finance, I wish it would be the case that we would have a salary cap in baseball the way other sports do. This guy is a billionaire. He is one that can spend like anybody else, and it's all because of the Dodgers. Now, keep in mind that the Guardians, they have their own billionaire in David Blitzer. He is a minority owner at this point. I think that move to majority ownership, I feel like we're going to see it sooner than some people think. I hope anyway. But
oh my God, that'd be great.
I know. I can't wait. He's worth about like $3.5 billion. Which is funny because we think of the Yankees and the success that they've had as an organization and being able to spend any amount of money. Well, Hal is only worth like $1.5 billion. But the brand equity that's built in the Yankee organization obviously is so much that they bring in so much money. Anyway, as Noah would say, I digress. Manfred is laying the groundwork saying there's other options. So what could those options be? I'll give you 3. First, make the luxury tax thresholds higher, but penalties steeper. If you make those penalties steeper, you make a percentage, say 50%, whatever it is, that would go back to the small market teams. So you spend too much like the Dodgers, that tax that you're going to pay, half of it's going to go back to small market teams. You should also redistribute the draft picks to give small market clubs better positions and additional selections, winning through selection. And finally, force teams to spend. I know that sounds silly, but institute penalties for falling below certain payroll thresholds, similar to the luxury tax structure.
So you hit on something there that I want to piggyback on because you're exactly right. I do think it's a big deal if it goes through. I do have my reservations. I think it's good for competitive balance, and it's great for smaller market teams. It'd be good for Cleveland because the first thing players are going to do is counter after a work stoppage. Let's just throw that out there. There will be a strike or a lockout or whatever. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to end without a strike. But after that, you can bet that a salary floor will be part of this. If you can only spend $200 million a year on your baseball roster, you have to spend $150 million a year on your roster. I'm usually against things that limit the power of the players. But here it's really going to help ensure competitive balance, give teams like the Guardians a chance or a mandate, because we've had a chance to keep talent and opted not to, but a mandate to keep the talent here. I think this could be a really big deal if it goes through. I just have reservations on the players union accepting it. I've seen strikes before drag out for less, whether or not we actually get there and whether or not both sides have the balls, so to speak, to get to that point. Because also we're not talking about Major League Baseball in the steroid era when everybody was making money hand over fist because Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds were just jacking home runs with Mark McGwire. We're talking about ratings being down. People talk about games being too long, and viewership is not what it used to be. So a work stoppage is going to further poison that well. But Noah, what do you think?
Have had a rebound, to be fair. And Noah, I want to hear what you think, but just 2 more quick points.
Go for it, man.
The first is that I want them to go crazy with that salary floor. I don't want it to just be a monetary penalty. I want the rights of your ball club to be in jeopardy if you don't spend. You don't hit that floor for 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row, then we're going to find new ownership. They're going to pay you the cash, but we're going to find new ownership. The second point is if we do have a strike, which I'm not for, but I am all for replacement players. Let's see it like the NFL did back in the day. I just think it would be fun. We could get another movie out of it. Keanu Reeves is still kicking. He could be a pitcher. That's all.
With our farm team, we should be about 72-3 at the end of the replacement players. We do well with
they've signed major league contracts, though, so I think they'd be part of the strike technically because they're covered by the union, aren't they?
Yeah, you would have to go for like super, like the Lake Erie Crushers are going to be playing in Progressive Field is what we're talking about right now.
Let's go. Me and you, John.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So listen, I was taking the time to really digest what you had to say because you hit on a lot of the big talking points I had. The Yankees ownership talking about this kind of thing on the Yes Network and all of that. To me, I think it comes down to this. Whatever makes it fair. I'm not saying there can't be and there shouldn't be a little bit of a slide like there is in some of these other leagues. The NBA, if you're in a bigger market, you have a little bit more salary cap to work with than, say, I don't know, us, even if you wanted to use an example, Orlando, what have you. I just think there is a lot of things going on with the MLB right now that are not going right and are jeopardizing the brand of America's pastime, the oldest sport in the country, however you want to put it that way. It's frustrating to me because people are going to be stuck in their ways and the players have their rights 100% to strike and want there not to be a salary cap because of the money it lines their pockets for years and years and years, these 20-year deals when they're not even on the roster anymore. But for a fan of a small market, like the three of us are, it's always kind of feels like, oh, well, we got to the Yankees and we put 2 good games on them and now we're back into the regular season. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I will say this too. The reason I'm excited as a small market team guy is the damn disparity is so big. If it was like the NBA with luxury tax and the way they worked, and you're like, okay, when you're making your championship run and you kept some really good players like your Donovan Mitchell or your LeBron in the seasons past, it's not so bad. Bro, the Athletics spent $60 million on payroll last year, and the Mets spent over $300 million. That is a titanic, gargantuan, Grand Canyon of a gap. That's not even competitive. Like, it's so much too. And I'll tell you what else.
Neither have a ring, though. They finished in the same place.
That's fair at home. Guardians are going to win this championship because they spent under $100 million. It depends on how you look at it, what you call salary cap, but they spent about $100 million and we're a heartbeat away from the World Series. Can you imagine what we did if the Dolans had to, by mandate, double the payroll?
I wouldn't
next
call
year?
us a heartbeat away from the World Series, but I take your point.
That's the ALCS, isn't it?
But we lost pretty handedly to the Yankees.
6 games, 7 games in the ALCS.
Oh yeah, I got you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We fell short a step before the World Series. Gotcha.
There's another option here, and it's just kick the Dodgers out of the MLB. I mean, they're the problem child pretty much on their own. Yes, Yankees in the past, and I mean, we keep blaming the Dodgers, but to be fair, as you said, the Mets had the highest payroll of any team.
The Mets and Yankees
there's only
both
a handful.
outspent the Dodgers, I think.
Yankees didn't. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it went Mets, Dodgers, Yankees. And there might even be one more. Hold on, I'll tell you in a second.
The Phillies and the Astros are way up there, but yeah.
It's frustrating, right, as a small market team to watch the Dodgers win in very convincing fashion in the World Series and then add 3 or 4 more players to that roster that are like would be a game changer just to be in the lineup or the rotation pitching wise for the Guardians. And they're just like the 3rd guy, the 7th batter. You know what I mean?
It's literally like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and then adding Myles Garrett, Patrick Mahomes, no offense to Jalen Hurts. Like, I mean, yeah, they're doing that and it's ruining baseball.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it's only attributing to what has been the blunders for the league, whether it be the TV rights, right, John? And I don't know if you want to use that as a transition or not. The TV rights, the branding itself, that kind of thing has been a big point of contention for the MLB for a minute now.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. How does that impact revenue? Because I know there were some revenue sharing issues and the way they set it up with Bally Sports Network. And now, I don't know if you guys saw the news, but there's the MLB TV for each team. And the Guardians are going to be on for either $99.99 for the whole season or $19.99 per month. I'm thinking through what type of membership or viewership they need to have to turn a kind of profit off of that where it substantially impacts what you can do on the field. No, I think they're going to keep it in their, especially in a market the size of Cleveland. You'll have some casual interest, but does that change anything for you guys? I know you saw the news. We talked a little bit about it at lunch, but what are your thoughts on the the MLB.TV deal.
Can I hop in here, Erik? Do you mind? Perfect. In theory, this is a fantastic deal for the fans. Okay. You're talking like 60 cents a game if you want to watch every game, and it's $200 to get every game, including your in-market games.
No more blackouts.
No blackouts, period, for $200. It's $100 if you just want the guards. So in that aspect, for us three who know how to work a smart TV, you'll see where I'm going here in a second.
I don't know. John might be questionable, but go on.
Well, he has the daughters to help
John.
him pick up the remote and show him where the button is, and then he can put the glass. I digress. I think of people like I speak on a daily basis to my grandma about Guardians baseball because I know she is going to watch every game, and I have shared the experience of having a grandparent relationship or an older parent, for you older folk on the stream with me right now, who watch this type of content, right? And for me to try to justify it, yes, it's a great deal, it's a great price, but it sections out a big part of that viewership, I think, that's going on with the MLB right now and isolates them in a way. So it's a little scary in terms of, the revenue and the brand and all of that kind of stuff that has been going on with the MLB. And, ultimately I want to see the league succeed because I like going to watch baseball, right?
I also want to see what happens with the damn password sharing. Like, you thought it was bad with Netflix and Hulu. I'm already have my little agreement for us to be like, let's just get the 200 for the whole league. We each pay 66. And it's going to be real tough to keep people from, hey, Dad, you want my password? Yeah, take it.
First of all, count me in. Second of all, I think this is a situation, though, where we just had to face reality because what Bally's, now FanDuel, was doing was overpaying sports teams. And when I say overpaying, I mean they've gone and are in the middle of bankruptcy because they basically said, hey, Guardians, we'll give you $70 million for the year, but they didn't have it. And so, yes, it stings from a perspective of the Guardians don't have that money in their pocket, but it was never sustainable. We've talked about, and I've gone on record as saying before, local sports should be on local TV. There's no reason it should be behind a paywall. Do what it takes to get that done and across the line, because there are different economic situations within our city. Let's just take Cleveland. People can't afford, and I know yes, it's a great deal for people like us that have the means to pay $100 for the year, even if each of us got our own subscription. That's great. But people that's funny. Noah, hook your uncle up. People,
I got you.
Fucking hilarious.
People that are living month to month don't have that option. It should be free for everybody to watch.
I maintain, and I know you want to get us to a break before we get to our third topic, but I maintain 100%. Insert your favorite old man joke here, but watching the Tribe in the 90s, yes, the new stadium was a big piece of it. And yes, Kenny Lofton, Carlos Baerga, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, Albert Bell were part of it, right? You
Omar Vizquel, don't leave out little O, but go on.
Oh, I didn't want to list the whole roster, but yeah,
Sandy Alomar, man.
Yeah, all of that matters. And the Browns not being in Cleveland when everybody had money from the 90s economic boom and somewhere to spend it was at the newly minted Jacobs Field. But I will maintain until I die that the most important reason that this city had a love affair with that baseball team is because 162 games were on WUAB, and you didn't have to have cable. You needed rabbit ears and a screen. And you could watch the Tribe everywhere. I'd be at baseball practice. I'd be at backyard barbecues. People would put it on the TV, put it on the radio. You didn't have to have anything because as a city, we could all come together and go, we lost our Browns. They'll be back in 99. The Cavs are mediocre, but this team is special. I remember sitting, this is going to ruffle some feathers, coloring Chief Wahoo like math projects in my class while we watched playoff games during the day at school because my teacher had season tickets and she could not miss a game and every single one was on TV. Pay-per-view or pay per season or pay per month is not the ideal standard. I am with you guys 100%. This should be free for everybody in Northeast Ohio that wants to watch it.
I want to add in here because I'm the younger perspective. I'm jealous of the stories that you're saying right now. Like I get the Cleveland togetherness. We do that as a city very often, I think, still. But the thought of just free sports for everyone, every type of walk of life, being able to turn on a TV and they have a $15 antenna they hooked up to whatever TV they got and are able to watch the Guardians and able to watch the Cavs. The Browns, for the most part, are covered on local TV, which is fantastic.
Yeah, what a treat that's been
excites
lately.
me in a way that I've never got to see or feel in my life. Right?
There was nothing. You were a loser if you didn't watch the games. I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean literally. The Indians game starts at today we're at 4:05 start for whatever reason. My dad's like, I'm gonna throw some stuff on the grill. Go get hamburger buns. So you ride your bike down the street to Dairy Mart, and it's on the radio and TV there. And then you get home and you can hear it out of people's houses with the windows open on your way home. And you would never walk into any place. The first thing out of your mouth was, "Hey, John, nice to meet you. What's the score?" And nobody thought you were talking about the Cavs. Everybody knew when you said, "What's the score?" It's like, how's the Tribe doing? It was wild. We lost that. With this team last year, they would have been over the moon if everybody could watch these guys. But
do you guys know the best part of the new app, though?
What's
that it's synced perfectly, and you can play Tom Hamilton's radio call with the video and choose that option.
God, yes.
By the way, for those that are looking for free baseball, it will still always be free on radio, so tune into Hammy, but you can sync it perfectly.
That is so sick.
There's something that they mentioned, too. I want to give them some slack here. We're talking about this option, and I think it's a great option in terms of some of those added features. No blackouts, getting to watch whatever baseball game you want. They said that there is an option for local TV still coming, and it'll be announced closer to opening day. Now, what does that exactly mean? Is it going to be all 162? Is it going to be, one game a week, 2 games a week, what have you? Regardless, it's horrible because I want to be able to watch and care and have ease of access for everyone to the Guardians in 2025 after what has been a fun season last year. And yes, we made some deals and some moves that pissed people off, but I'm still at least cautiously optimistic, right? I feel like I can say that. I feel like that isn't a hot take.
We've got Bieber back. I mean, let's start there and see what happens. I didn't expect much from this past season.
One last devil advocate question I want to pull for you guys just to ask is there was a lot of uproar about no pregame shows. And John, you alluded to it in our last kind of half of the segment. But do you care? Because I don't ever watch the pregame and the postgame shows for like the TV sporting events, but there were a lot of people on X and a lot of people on Instagram that were not fans of there not being a pregame show during away games.
Yeah, it's not the money for me. It's the principle. Erik, you said that at lunch about a different topic, and that is something that's so true so many times in life. Like, stop pissing and from the roof and telling me it's raining outside. Like, I don't really give a shit. I only watch the Guardians pregame on the weekends if, everybody's kind of falling asleep on the couch and they play at 1:00. It's something that's on like after church or after lunch or whatever. But like, it just pisses me off because it's like, how with the state of Ohio, you got to renew your license plate tags. You got to do it everywhere. And you pay $68 for a little sticker, and all it is tax on having a car. And then at the end, they go, would you like to donate $2 to help kids with eye patches? You're like, no, fuck no. Because you just broke it off. Now, then you look back, you're like, I give a ton of money to charity all over the place. But in the moment where it's like, you just took me for $75 for my own license plate, like, quick, stop screwing around. It was similar for me because I'm like, these guys are just, penny wise, pound foolish. Like, I don't understand what drives some of these decisions. It's not the end of the world, but it's just irritating because they're being cheapskates. It's like the dude who's like, everybody tips 20% at lunch and he gives 17%. You're like, what are you doing?
I think it parlays with like Guards Fest being canceled, and that's a funny analogy to use. But I think it parlays with Guards Fest being canceled, and it's going to be a tri-annual event or whatever buzz term that was.
Triannual,
I agree with you. it's definitely more the principle. I personally, it's not going to affect my day to day, but it's the principle for sure. Erik, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I don't care at all. And I never watched it because I could not stand Jensen Lewis. But something to note here, he's out, period. He won't be on post-game shows either. So I'm kind of happy about that. Maybe I'll watch now. Maybe they'll get somebody with real talent to be on the show.
Listen,
you got a lot of energy for Jensen Lewis.
No, I'm saying he wasn't really much in the majors. That's all.
Interesting. Listen, gentlemen, it has been a fun MLB debate. Spring training is upon us. I am so excited to watch the 2 games that they broadcast in February and March because it gives me something baseball to pay attention to. But I'm going to cut us to commercial break. When we come back, John's going to bring us back into a slew. Well, not a slew. We have one last topic that we're going to get into. It's a fun one, though, as marketing guys are going to have a blast with this. You are listening to At the Office, a Cleveland sports show. We'll be back after these commercial messages. And we are back at the office talking all things sports, hanging out, having a good time, just doing our thing as we do. Listen, we really appreciate it if you hit the like, hit the subscribe button, follow us on all of our socials down below. It helps us grow the brand of At the Office a ton. Check out our merch store. I don't know if you guys have any merch on you, but I still got my mug, rocking it proud, rocking it loud. There we go, John. Yeah. At the Office CLE.com. At the Office CLE.com is our website for merch. It's always linked down below in terms of the YouTube. And also for our audio only listeners, please hit the download button. Again, helps us out a ton. John, take it away, man.
Let's do it. You alluded to a little bit of it, but this is a fun one. We are all ad guys in one form or another. TV, digital, some do sales, some do strategy, but we all would work in what you would call a marketing discipline. So brands mean a lot to us. We talk a lot about them. I remember being in Erik's office at the station. He had everything from Mad Men to the most iconic Volkswagen ads of all time. You can see some of them over his left and right shoulder. It's almost like a mini museum to marketing. You should charge people $2 and give tours. There's some cool shit.
Come on down, guys.
But brands mean a lot to us, and I think they mean a lot to everyone, because when I say words like iconic brands, they don't just mean colors on a sheet or typography. They elicit a visceral response. If I say Nike to Noah, who's a sneakerhead, or Apple to Erik, who loves the tech, or Mercedes-Benz to me, who's a car guy, McDonald's, Starbucks, Coca-Cola, Amazon, you name it, it always means a lot to people because the brands that we rely on and come to love play a prominent role in our lives. So, got us talking, and we said, of your Cleveland sports franchises, which team has the best brand? Now, I let Erik and Noah start each of the last 2, so I'll start this one. You know where I go when I can't do my accountant brain, because this is a touchy-feely question and not a quantitative question. I start defining shit. So I looked up brand. It's a type of a product manufactured by a company under a name, or it's the thing you do on the ass to livestock with a hot iron to make sure everybody knows it's yours. But it takes on.
Oh man, all my Cal takes are ruined now. I thought we were doing.
It takes.
Where's
on
your Undertuggers hat at, Erik?
I know it's pre-order right now.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's a product, service, or concept that's publicly distinguished from other products, services, and concepts, so it can be easily communicated, usually through marketing. Branding is the process of creating and disseminating a name. Its qualities, its personality, elicits a feeling. It has a personal relationship with the consumer. And typically, the stronger the brand, the stronger the recognition. So that's a really long tee up for me to say, for me, it's the Browns, because no matter how hapless they are, you don't have fans over the years like Condoleezza Rice, Elvis Presley, Drew Carey, Hank Aaron, Muhammad Ali, MGK, Stipe Miocic, on and on and on, with the Browns backers worldwide. I went to a bar in Rome when I was studying abroad in Italy.
John, just real quick.
What?
I wanted to show the Cleveland Browns brand for you, and you kept going.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. That's it. I went to a bar in Rome. It was by the Spanish Steps. The Browns were showing a rerun, and the Indians game was on when I was 19. You're not going to find that for the Cleveland Monsters or Lake Erie Monsters or Cleveland Lumberjacks. So for me, it is the Cleveland Browns.
Well, am I good to talk now? Or are you quiet enough for me to have some airspace to breathe and talk and show some graphics for you, my friend?
Yeah, get me fired up again. Maybe not, but for now we're good.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Anyway, I'm just messing with you, buddy. My take on this is a hot take. To some, not to me, because I have very much always and have been in support of the new name. I think the best brand, if we're talking logos, we're talking ties to the city, we're talking connections to the past and what was the prior name, it is the Cleveland Guardians. And it is the Cleveland Guardians because the Guardians Bridge, because of its ties to the city, because they had to change the name for obvious reasons, and they moved to a brand that still feels similar to what it was in the past, but has an even better connection to the city. And all in all, I just like it. And maybe I'm biased because I have a Cleveland Guardian tattooed on me, but that's just
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Yeah.
You chose the best brand after a bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just
when
checking.
people still walk up to us on the street and go, "They'll never be the Guardians to me. They'll always be the Indians." I'm not saying those people are right, but that's the sentiment amongst to each his own.
I'm standing against that thought process and saying that the Guardians is the best brand because it has good ties to the city. Yes, it's from a bridge. The bridge is dope. If you ever drove on it, it's a cool bridge.
And I'm cool bridge, like the Brooklyn Bridge is cool, but
yeah, we know you want to live in Manhattan, Erik, but that's besides the point. I just like the brand. I think it ties together the past, present, and future of the baseball team that resides in Cleveland and will always reside in Cleveland. And that's kind of my take on it.
They got great colors.
All right, I went a little bit different of a direction, and I actually thought John would be a little more, I don't know, a little more put together because I kind of did it like he would do. No offense, John. That wasn't calling you out or anything, but I broke it down a little more succinctly. First of all, if we're talking straight brand equity, then yeah, it's the Browns hands down. They're on the minds of Clevelanders pretty much 24/7, even when it's not football season. Yep. And I don't think that lends itself to being the best brand because it's a football town, it's a football state. They just had the positioning. It kind of worked out well for them. But I broke it down into more of that because in a broad sense, a brand is kind of brand identity, brand promise, and brand voice, among others. But I focused on those three. You guys know I'm a brand guy, so I love this kind of thing anyway. Brand identity is where I focus most because it's the parts that you actually can see and hear, the personality, if you will, of a brand. And for me, it's a toss-up between the Guardians and the Cavs here. The Browns are terrible in this aspect. Orange is not a great color. They don't really have a logo. I love Brownie the Elf, but what the hell is Brownie the Elf and what's it have to do with the Browns?
Let me pull that up
obviously,
for you real quick.
Historic and the random dog now that doesn't even seem to match the dog that we have on the field, the real life one. It's not a very good brand from brand identity standpoint. I get it. When you're a team named after a former owner, manager, it's kind of hard to do something sexy with it. And they've gotten to a point where, the orange plain helmet isn't great, but if you were to throw a logo on it, it just looks completely wrong too. The Guardians and the Cavs, on the other hand, their visual identity has been so good over the years. The Cavs have pivoted quite a bit. They've run different color schemes, and it almost always looks amazing. Shout out to the 90s throwbacks of that blue. Guardians, same thing. Guardians/Indians. John mentioned that they have some of the best colors. You can't really go wrong with blue and red as your team's colors. But for me, they win in the brand identity. So then what about brand promise and brand voice? Brand promise is the value or experience that customers can expect from a brand. And I would say that for the Cleveland Browns, it's misery.
Really bad. Yeah.
It is not
Factory
a
is
good,
sad, man.
it is not a good promise. Credit where credit's due. When the Haslams came in, one of D. Haslam's projects was to revamp the experience from the moment you step foot into whatever the stadium's called these days, Huntington Bank Field. And she's done a good job of that. Concessions have improved. The monolithic Soviet-looking hallways have become better with posters, etc. She's done a good job there. But let's be honest. What fans expect from the Browns is losses. It's dysfunction. It's hiring guys that have no right to be on a football field. Cough, Deshaun, cough, Watson. So clearly the Browns don't win on brand promise. I'd say the Cavs probably have the slight edge here over the Guardians, both in terms of the product that they put on the court and also the product that they put on the shelves. It's just been very, very good since LeBron came. It wasn't that great before LeBron came, but since LeBron and even after him leaving, they've done a very good job with that and the presentation of what they give you. And then finally, brand voice. I could break this down a million other ways and keep going forever. But finally, brand voice. That's the tone and language that a brand communicates to its audience. Again, I would say the Guardians and the Cavs do a good job at this. They have fan events. They have great entertainment in-game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And once again, what do we get with the Browns? I'll tell you what we get. Hold on. Tell me who I am. We just got to do better. I got to do better. Coaches go into this too.
You got a really good
pound for pound. The winner for me is a mix between the Guardians and the Cavs.
I'm going to show the Cavs graphic real quick just because we haven't pulled it up yet. Here's a image of the Cavs branding for our visual viewers at home.
Pretty sick.
So the reason I struggle with the Cavs and Guardians too is because they've changed significantly multiple times in the last few years. We went from the Chief to the Script Eye to the Indians to the Guardians. We got red jerseys. Now they've improved each time, but part of the brand to me was like consistency. Same thing with the Cavs. It's wine and gold. It's maroon and gold. It was black when we won the title with sleeves. Now we got a black jersey. Each iteration of that has been better. I think the Cavs jerseys look greater now than they have at any point since I've been a Cavs fan. But part of the brand is consistency. If Nike changed the swoosh every 4 years, it'd be like, okay, well, let's get it together.
But it's also adapt or die. I mean, yeah, the Indians had a racist caricature when it was cool to be racist. Well, society got better, thankfully, and it's not very well these days. I don't know, but it's not very cool to be a racist, so they moved on from it. I mean,
it's not a fight to defend the Chief. And Cavaliers aren't racist, and the Cavs have changed jerseys just as much. They just didn't change the name. But the only other teeny caveat I would throw in there, because I like the way you broke it down. You gave everybody the NBA version of what brand actually means, and it's tough to argue. Is you did say, well, the Browns are just a football team in a football city in a football state. I don't want to give them not enough credit because the Bengals are the same team in the same state that's all about football, and they don't have nearly the brand equity of the Cleveland Browns, and they perform better on a consistent basis over the last 20 years. But all of that said, your breakdown was really good. It's tough to argue. I mean, the Guardians and Cavs do a good job.
I think there's an honorable mention here that we're all forgetting because they have had a consistent branding over the last 20 years. Their jerseys, their logos, their identity has always been top tier, in my opinion. Give some damn respect to the Cleveland Monsters. The logo's cool. The jerseys are cool. Give them some respect. I know they're not
honestly,
an NHL team.
You're not wrong. It is sick. I wish we could brand Lake Erie as like Loch Ness Monster, like our new kind of thing, like Scotland does. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about them just because they're not a professional sports team. Same reason I left the Buckeyes out.
They are a professional sports team.
When you compare the
Gymnastics for a second, they are a professional sports team. I got to pull a John, but I get what you're saying. They're not a major professional sports team.
I would actually say I think the Monsters branding is designed to pull in non-hockey fans into stuff. because they're trying to get people who would normally go to the Charge game or maybe a Cavs game to check out the Monsters too. Those jerseys look awesome. Color scheme, the little gold, they do a good job with branding. If you compare them to the iconic hockey brands, nobody's going to look at the Cleveland Monsters jersey and go, that's better than the Red Wings and Maple Leafs. Like, it's good, but it's, they will
Jeff
with
has
the
a
Guardians.
good point. Yeah. What team would mean more to get the next championship? The only thing I would say to that, Jeff, obviously it's the Browns, but worth and brand are two different things.
That's fair too. I wanna give a dishonorable mention, since we've mentioned 4 out of the 5 teams that are predominantly here in Cleveland. Yes, I know there's some semi-pro teams or whatever that I'd probably have never even heard of. Shout out the Cleveland Guardians roller derby team or whatever the hell was going on with that.
Oh, yeah.
Back when they changed the name. Dishonorable mention to the Cleveland Charge. I like the Charge name. It fits, I think, a little bit, but what the hell is a posse? The uniforms aren't great. The logo doesn't really do it for me. I'm not trying to be critical. What? Go ahead.
I was courtside last weekend, and they had the Deadpool thing, and it was gross.
That was atrocious. I was asking if you had a screen, and I was hoping you had the Deadpool on there because that was terrible.
I didn't put a Charge one together because I just thought of that one on the fly, not before the show. But if anybody wants to go see the epitome of minor league sports jersey, go check out the Deadpool Marvel Cleveland Charge jersey. No disrespect to that team or that franchise, though, because the venue they play in is sick. You get to see a lot of these young Cavaliers chop it up on the hardwood a little bit. Sometimes you might get lucky and be like John and sit next to Donovan Mitchell.
From a beginning to end experience for fans, the Charge is hard to beat. It has the intimacy of like high school basketball where you can kind of walk right up to the floor, basically. Like Noah said, it's in a venue that's absolutely gorgeous where the Beatles played. And it's cheap. It's cheap as hell. You can go for like $20, and that includes a beer. I mean, I don't know what tickets actually are because we went for free, but
they're cheap.
I don't think they're expensive.
Shout out the Cavs employee ticket discount, because I always am going to Charge games because it is a great time. But if we're talking about 1 through 5 branding in terms of all the major sports teams in Cleveland, they're number 5 in my opinion. Probably,
for sure.
Right?
And one more side note about the Charge. For any parents out there listening, control your damn kids. They don't need to be in the second balcony like playing on the steps the whole time, about to like tumble off. That was annoying, but otherwise, really good time.
Yeah, it was.
It's natural selection. I got 4 kids. Kids who fall off balconies at the Charge game don't get to grow up to have more kids who fall off the balcony at the Charge game. It's Darwinism, baby. Let them
John
go.
comes to a show. I had 4 kids. Now I have 3. Natural selection. I don't know what to tell you.
That's insane.
All right. This has been a great conversation. It's been a great show. Why don't we wrap it up, gentlemen, with what we typically wrap it up with? Hot takes. What's going on in the world? What do you think? What do you want to burn on for a sec before we say goodnight to the people?
Who you want to go first, man?
You guys want to do rock, paper, scissors? Erik, you go first.
Okay, I was ready for Rochambeau. My hot take's pretty simple and straightforward this week, and it's that the Ohio State University has more pull than any other college program, maybe in history. We get former Super Bowl winners as coordinator roles. Co-coordinator, by the way. He's not a full-fledged on his own coordinator. I'm really happy with the coaching changes that they're making. For those talking down on Matt Patricia, I'm not sure why, because the Patriots in those years, 2012 to 17, if I'm not mistaken, had a hell of a defense, won 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, you had a guy named Tom Brady, but the defense didn't hurt you. I think it's a good hire. I like that some of the guys that they're elevating. I really like that we're giving a shot to Hartline before anybody else gives them a shot. Keep on bringing those receivers in, and now I hope that the keys to the kingdom are kind of overturned to him. He was co-offensive coordinator, and then he saw what Chip Kelly did and the relationship between him and Day. I think that's really good for Hartline, but I don't know, man. I'm still on the high of the national championship, and it gets me so excited thinking of next year already. Also, fuck Penn State.
I'll give you my hot take. It's not really a hot take. For those who don't know, I did a solo show yesterday talking about DeAndre Hunter and his fit with the Cavs and the trade and his first game as a Cleveland Cavalier. If you haven't gone and saw that, go check it out. I'd really appreciate it. I think these guys would too, because it still supports the brand.
Are you saying you did a solo cam show on your own? I'm just
Okay. That was a complete waste of time.
Sorry.
What isn't a waste of time
Yes.
is I'd like to pat myself on the back and give myself the best take, Jane, because on this show,
Christ.
1 week ago, I predicted the exact terms of the DeAndre Hunter trade. And Erik said, I don't know
I'll
if
give
we
him
should
credit
give
here.
up that much. And he was just as ecstatic as I was in the office for the acquisition of DeAndre Hunter for not one, not two, but 3 first-round picks, George Niang and Karis LeVert. Both of those guys will be missed. Excited about DeAndre
Not really.
Hunter. Go ahead.
This
Can
guy
I
had to
respond
use-
real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, man.
And my response is, I said, I don't think we need to give up 3 seconds. Not that we wouldn't. I don't think we need to get the deal across the line. And all I can say to that is somebody as GM might be in the hot seat and Mr. Williams can move right in, because I would have got it done for less.
That's
If
crazy
you-
because that was a hell of a deal, and I will stand and stamp on that.
I am very happy, and you called it. I give you credit.
I was gonna say I gotta give you credit too, because if you didn't use the NBA trade machine or Chat GPT and you gave us the exact trade, that is wild. Especially when it's not like let's trade Luka for AD. You're like, let's see if we give him 3 second-round picks and George Niang. Like, who outside of Cleveland knows who George Niang is? You know?
I don't want to take away Noah's credit, but if he called Luka for Anthony Davis, I would just say he's the king of the show, period. Because nobody
Should I get
saw
a
that
crown?
coming.
Should
For
I get
sure.
a crown going? I was gonna buy a crown. Side note, real quick, just tangent.
God.
When I got the when I won the college football playoff pick'em thing that we were doing, I was gonna wear a crown for the national championship show and buy it on Amazon, but I wasn't dropping $20 on that. Anyway,
Fair
I
point.
would. You should have rocked it.
Yep, I got
Yeah,
mine as
well-
a Christmas gift. You just got to put it on your list. I can't remember when your birthday
You have
is.
a
but-
crown?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you just said you got one. He was talking about a crown, and you said you got one as a Christmas gift.
Yeah, I said I don't have a crown, but I got mine as a Christmas gift. Talking about like our little. Who's the best?
oh, okay.
I was
I'm like,
connecting dots that
okay,
you
now
didn't
he's going to be
connect,
wearing
but-
crowns. Thanks, Noah.
He's gonna have a crown and the chain on the next episode. John, give us your hot take, man.
This is gonna be like Rashard McCants on Gil's Arena, wearing crowns and carrying Lucille bats around everywhere. Great podcast if you don't listen to it too.
have
My
no
hot
idea
take
what
was
you
a
just said.
similar topic to Eric's, but very different reason. I just think it's worth noting and mentioning that if you think the Buckeyes' dominance is going away, and you got mad because we won the national championship, and now you see where we're getting at coordinator, don't hold your breath for us to start sucking anytime soon, because one Jim Tressel is now the lieutenant governor of the state of Ohio. So shout out
Let's
to Tress.
go.
Congrats on the new position. Hopefully,
Stay
you bring
mad,
great things
bitches.
to the state of Ohio, like you brought to Ohio State. That's all I got, though. Noah, why don't you close us out?
Yeah, I got you, man. You guys got anything else you want to say real quick? Erik, I know you always want to throw one last thing in there, so go ahead, man.
No, I think actually the level of
Right.
copium from Michigan fans right now, y'all are gonna suck and you're not beating us again. Period.
I'm proud of you for knowing what the vocab word copium means. When did you find that out? About a week ago?
Bro, I'm like midway between old man John and you. I still got some street cred.
We'll see. Anyway, I appreciate both of you. John, I didn't let you talk. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I'm all set, brother. Thanks to everybody for listening. It's good being with you tonight.
Yeah, listen, guys, I love you both. This has been a fantastic show, a fantastic time, as it always is when we're talking sports here at the office. Make sure you hit the download button or hit the subscribe button if you're watching the YouTube version. Shout out to Fans First Sports Network for everything they do in supporting what we do here on the channel, during the podcast, after the show, before the show. Check out some of the articles we've been whipping up on the Fans First website. That is linked below in terms of the YouTube channel as well. And until next time, gentlemen, until next time, Cleveland, thank you for watching. Have a great day or night whenever you're watching, whether you're watching live or not. And until next time, Cleveland, stay up. Peace.